there, my name is Robert Turner. Welcome to the Lost Dutchman State Park. Now, as you can see behind me, we have the fabled Superstition Mountains. There's a lot of myths and legends surrounding these mountains. The most famous one being the Lost Dutchman. Now, people from around the world have heard of this story and have come out here to try to find this mine. The first mistake they made was actually trying to look for it. You ain't gonna find it. You have to find it on sheer dumb luck. Now, who was the Lost Dutchman? On this journey out here on Siphon Draw Trail, I'm going to be teaching you about who the Lost Dutchman was, the tales of surrounding his mine, and as well as the people who have been obsessed and have come out here and died looking for this mine. So, without further ado, let's hit this trail and let's give you the tale of the Lost Dutchman. We're going to take a little break here. While we're taking a little break, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Dutchman and who he was. As a matter of fact, his name was Jacob Waltz, and he was born in Germany back in 1808. Now, the thing about Americans back in this time was they got confused between Germans and Dutch. How that happened, I have no idea, but they were confused. So they ended up calling him the Dutchman when he was actually a German. But anyways, he immigrated here in 1840 to Arizona. Now, Jacob was obsessed with gold and mining and all that sorts of things. He became a prospector in 1860s. And he worked throughout the land over here with a bunch of different mines. But they always suspected him of high grading, which is a simple term for stealing from the mine. Now, with that being said, he was forced out of the jobs many a times. And he ended up coming up here into the Superstitions, and he met a man named Pedro Peralta, and it's led to believe that Pedro owned many mines back up in here, a bunch of silver mines and a couple of gold mines, one famously being the Peralta mine. Now, Jacob was told the location of the mine by Pedro. Whether that's true or not, he goes up into the Superstitions and comes back with saddlebags full of gold. Now, everyone asks, where'd you get the gold from? Where's it coming from? Where are you going? Why are you back up in the Superstitions? But he never told anybody. Now, back behind me, in the Bulldog Canyons, his residency's back there. He lives on a simple farm, and he would come up in here ever so often to get more money, more gold. And with that being said, now that you know a little bit more about Jacob Waltz and who he was, let's get back on this trail. Let's go find that gold. We're here taking another break. Let me tell you a little bit about the mine. Well, actually, hold on. I'm going to tell you about the folklore behind it. So, back in 1540, the Spaniards came here, and they learned from the Apache Indians that there was, in fact, gold back up in here. Now, the Apaches refused to help the Spaniards on the fact that they believed that the thunder god that watched over the Superstitions would get mad and curse those mountains. The conquistadors obviously didn't listen and went back in there and searched for gold anyway. Now, whether it was the Apaches or their thunder god, the conquistadors started dying off one by one. They eventually fled the area. Now, the Peralta, as I said before, they had mines back up in here. They knew where the gold was. They knew where the silver was. And so does Jacob Waltz. Now, whether the Apache were going after Jacob Waltz, that's unknown, but he always came back out of the mountains with saddlebags full of gold. And people were crazy about it. They didn't understand how it was happening. And Jacob Waltz never revealed any of his secrets to anyone. However, in the later years of Jacob's life, the Salt River ended up flooding, and it washed away his home. Jacob was stuck up in a mesquite tree for the better part of 2 days. And luckily, Reinhard Petrasch and Herman Petrasch, the brothers, they came out and rescued him. They took him to see Julia Thomas, a nurse commonly known in that time. She was actually very good at her job. However, because of Jacob Walsh being stuck in the river for 2 days, he contracted pneumonia, and there wasn't much that Julia Thomas could do. Now, with that being said, on his deathbed, he told those three where they could find the mine. He gave them hints and clues that pointed them through this mountain. Now, a lot of people know these hints and clues, but still have yet to find the mine, whether to say they were true or not. But what was convincing was that on his deathbed, he noted that $15,000 worth of gold was underneath his bed from up here in the mines. Julia Thomas, Reinhard Petrasch, and Herman Petrasch all got some of that gold to come back here and search. They spent the rest of their lives searching for the gold and never found it. But who's to say if the mine's actually back there? Let's keep hiking, and then I'll tell you about all these other people who decided to come out here and die in search for this gold. Well, that was quite a hike. But let me tell you a little bit about the people who decided to actually come out here and search for this gold. Now, you know about the three individuals, Julia Thomas, Herman Petrasch, and Reinhard Petrasch. The Dutchman told them the location of the mine. However, they weren't able to find it, right? Now, people all over the world have come out to this park, to this state park specifically, to hear about this folklore. And they're the ones who've been obsessed with finding this gold. Now, there have been many cases throughout the years of people mysteriously going up in these mountains and disappearing. People have been having their heads cut off, dying, and no one knows why. Apaches are scared to come up here nowadays because they believe it's still the thunder god. For me, I personally think that the curse is true, that these mountains are cursed, and that whoever tries to go back in here and find the gold is going to wind up dead. Now, there have been cases of people getting shot. There have been cases of people getting mutilated, found naked out here with a bullet hole in their forehead. If that ain't scary enough to keep you away, then I don't know what is. But there was a rumor, well, actually I take that back. It's true. Weaver's Needle. The Dutchman said that the Weaver's Needle at a certain point of the year will have a shadow that points you directly to where the entrance of his mine is at. But back in the 60s, 1960s, a man climbed all the way up to the top of Weaver's Needle and blew it up. There used to be a giant rock outcropping, and that would shine the light right onto the entrance of the mine at a certain time of the year, at a certain time of the day. With that being said, no one can find that now because of that man. He believed he knew where the mine was at. Turns out he didn't. He was just crazy. He got arrested. Don't know what happened to him now. But the legend still stands. It's possible that it's back in here, but no one has found it yet. Well, folks, that's the end of the hike. Let's head back and get out of here. I wanted to thank you personally for coming out here and listening to me tell the tale of the Lost Dutchman. Hope you had a good time, and I hope to see you again soon.